you ready? My name is JJ.
My name is JM.
My name is Jack. My name is Jay.
And my name is Jamie.
And welcome to It's Time Financial House. So, are you ready?
Invest in the stock market so that you'll become rich.
I know it's unconventional, it's not traditional, but it works. Plan, build, secure.
I'm JJ.
I'm JM.
I'm Jack. I'm Jake.
And I'm Jamie.
And welcome to It's Time Wow!
Wisdom on Wednesdays.
Your weekly dose of wisdom.
So every Wednesday, we will invite wisdom-filled individuals that will share with us their expertise, competence, and experience that will help us gain more success, knowledge, and wisdom.
And we'll have these episodes ready and available on our YouTube channel for your future reference.
So get your fill of wisdom every Wednesday.
It's time!
There's a secret to success. Everybody hopes to find. There's a key to the world, and it's mine, all mine. There's a world of opportunity filled with possibility and dreams that I'm gonna find. I got a millionaire mind. I say yes to success. I got a millionaire mind. I say yes to success. I've got a blueprint for the future, a brand new design. I'm playing at the money game, winning all the time. There's a world of opportunity filled with possibility and dreams that I'm going to find. I got a millionaire mind. I say yes, I say yes to success.
Let's begin with a prayer. In the name of the Father, of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Dear Lord, thank you for another wonderful season of Wisdom on Wednesdays. We pray that you're just going to continue to guide us and bless us, that we will be able to open our minds to learn more, not for ourselves, but to help other people as well, O Lord. Please let us learn more things. Please let us internalize this knowledge so that we'll become better people and help many people along our journey in life. All of this we pray through Christ our Lord.
Amen.
In the name of the Father, of the Son, of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm JJ.
I'm JM.
I'm Jack. I'm Jake.
And I'm Jamie.
And welcome to It's Time Wow!
Wisdom on Wednesdays.
Your weekly dose of wisdom.
Our guest speaker will share with us his program, Your Great Entrepreneurial Adventure. For the first episode, he will explain why your mindset matters most and how to harness your superpowers, and guide you to tell the story of your own adventure, your greatest story ever told. On the second episode, The Heart of Your Adventure, the roadmap to your success. He will be discussing the right market for your products and give you tips on how to stay on track with your goals. On the third episode, he will let us discover our superhero powers and will teach us how to stay aligned. On the fourth episode, the hero's companions, your Achilles army, shields and swords. We will be guided on whether we have the right companions on our journey to success. And on the last episode, the quest continues. The end of the beginning. He will make us understand the entire program of entrepreneurial adventure. So, join our family as we bring you your regular dose of wisdom on Wednesdays.
Our guest speaker lives his mission to inspire people and make a difference to humanity. Based in the Perth Hills of Western Australia, he is an entrepreneur, coach, presenter, and author who has created and grown many businesses, given customers and staff great experiences, and inspired many people to improve their lives. The youngest sibling of hardworking English parents, his childhood involved learning the family hotel business in the English Channel Island of Jersey. Leaving college at 18, he became a retail trainee. By 19, he was already a deputy store manager. And since aviation was another family passion, he gained a pilot's license. After winning a UK Business Award, he and his first wife relocated to Perth to achieve their dream of owning their own family home. He enjoyed a successful retail career with various big chains, but wanted to control his own destiny. After dabbling with sales, his first venture was a backpacker's accommodation in 1996, leading to many other enterprises, generating millions of dollars that encompass tourism and hospitality, vehicle sales, hire and servicing, property management, and cleaning and office relocations. After a lifetime commitment to personal development, he became a successful business and life coach who has mentored hundreds of people to help them live happier, more fulfilling lives. He and his wife, Jo, are carers for her disabled son, but with strategic mobile business systems, have also been international travel adventurers until the pandemic put it on hold. He also published, "If Life's Worth Doing, It's Worth Doing Well."
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Coach Tony Inman.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to It's Time. Wow, Wisdom on Wednesdays. It's the fourth episode of our series, Your Great Entrepreneurial Adventure. And today we will discuss the hero's companions, your Achilles army, shields, and swords. So let's all welcome our guest coach who just came back from another great adventure with his family. Hi, Coach Tony. How are you?
Hi, Joey. Good to be with you again. Yeah, back in Perth. I'm delighted to be back in the Perth Hills again. Just had a beautiful trip visiting family to Brisbane on the other side of Australia. For those of your guests who don't know, that's about as far away in Australia as you can get from where we live, the other side. Unfortunately, there was a bit of a COVID outbreak while we were there, so currently our whole family self-isolating for 14 days at home. Just
That's
as
good. At least you're doing it at home.
Yeah, well, I work from home a lot of the time anyway, so it's not too big a deal. Just a few restrictions on a few freedoms, you know.
Well, because here in the Philippines, you have to do it in a quarantine facility, so it's worse. At least.
Yeah, it just depends where. If you've been to what they call a hotspot, like if you're classed as high risk, then you would have to go into a hotel. But we were actually on the east side of Brisbane, and there was nobody in that area at all that was affected. So we were quite a long way from it, but just as a precaution, they made us upgraded it to a medium risk, and that means we can isolate from home. And we have to go and we got tested at the airport, and then we have to go and get tested again in another few days. And that's just the world we live in now, I suppose.
I know. So anyway, welcome back. We're excited to hear about our fourth episode.
So this week, the Heroes Companions. Quick recap on what we did before. The first session was all about explaining why we look at it as, or why I chose to look at it as an adventure. I believe business is a bit of an adventure. It should be fun, not something to be endured. And same with your life. You know, life should be fun. And Richard Branson says life and business are all one thing. Should all be fun. And we talked about the fact that success is whatever that means to you. So whatever you're striving to achieve is your own unique definition of success. It's not really anybody else's business, you know, if you're happy doing what you're doing. And finding a cause, or as Earl Nightingale said in his great recording, a worthy ideal, something that you're working towards that's meaningful, and presumably it usually comes from a heart-centered base of contribution and helping other people. So seeing what you can achieve that's going to not only help you, but help you, your family or your community, people that you care about. And developing those dreams into a vision that you can actually believe in. And then in session 2, we talked more about that all of us are heroes in our own journey. You know, that's that Hollywood theme. They've got certain themes that run through just about every movie. You can almost trace the steps and go, now this person's the hero, and here's the setback or the problem that they're going to be facing. Here's the mission they're trying to achieve, and here's the obstacles that get in the way. You know, the bad guys that come along, and the injuries and the setbacks and all the things that throw you off course. But it's all about us being in touch with our true, authentic selves. And the more we are coming from a place of being heart-centered and integrity, the more likely people are to want to do business with us. You know, we like to work with people we know, like, and trust. And then developing a strategic plan, what you really want to achieve, how you're going to deal with your customers, in what ways are you going to serve them, what services, products you're going to provide, and how you're going to create a fantastic experience for them. So, and always looking for a win-win outcome, not a win-lose outcome. Feel free to jump in if you want to add anything or pick up on anything I've missed that we covered. So section 3, very quick recap again. We talked about having superhero powers and aligning those driving forces, the importance of being grateful. Gratitude is such a big thing. Being grateful for what you have in your life already. You know, it's all about perspective. It's all about how we look at things. And you can have a situation that one of you sees as a good thing and the other one sees it as a bad thing. It's the same situation. It's just how you're looking at it. So it's okay to be grateful for what you have, but also to aspire to want more. You know, there's a few people that have restrictive beliefs around money and around their association with money. It's okay to want more. It's what you do with it. Money itself is not good or evil. It's what you do with it that counts. And if you have money, you're in a better position to be able to help other people. So then it's about you developing your character traits and working on your philosophy and your spirituality and being sort of at peace and in harmony with yourself and what you're trying to achieve. I talked a lot about some of the tools that you can use to facilitate that. So keeping a journal. Jim Rohn used to say, you know, try and extract as much juice as you can from each day. Sit there and reflect on what you've learnt. What has the day taught me today? Was it good? Was it bad? You know, how can I use it to empower me to move forwards in the direction that I want to go?
For this session, so if you are the hero in your adventure story, how do you go about seeking companions?
Okay, well, that's a great starting question. It's actually not the starting question, though, because before you can go looking for the people to be on the journey, there's a few things we need to consider. One is that you need to be willing to take responsibility for your present state. So everything that you know, everything you've learnt has got you to this point. All the decisions that you've made up until now in your life have got you to where you are. And if it's important, it's very important to take responsibility for that. If you want to change your situation, you have to believe that you have the power to do so. So that also means taking the responsibility for the fact that you are where you're at because of the previous decisions you've made. So a lot of people deflect that. They want to blame other people. You know, I haven't got the ideal life because it's somebody else's fault. You know, my parents didn't give me a good upbringing, or I didn't get a good enough education, or, you know, it's all right for those other people. We look to compare ourselves with other people. So it's all right for them because they've had advantages that I didn't have. You can sit there and have a pity party, you know, for yourself and feel sorry for yourself, or you can look at what can I do to change? Well, if you take responsibility for the fact that it's up to you, whatever you want to achieve is up to you, then that empowers you to move forwards because you are taking that mantle on board yourself. You're not waiting for somebody else to come and throw you all the answers, you know. You are seizing the day and looking for your own new opportunities. So responsibility is a huge thing. And so many people try to shun that and, you know, blame everybody else for where they're at. So that starts with being honest and having a good, clear look at yourself and your picture of where you're at now. So before you can really move forwards, you've got to figure out, well, who have I become? What sort of person am I? What are my abilities? You know, what's just getting a cup of tea brought to me. I'll just have to acknowledge that. Thanks, Joe. So important to have a good support team there. We'll come to that in a moment.
Yes.
So, but being your own best friend. So the reason I say that is you need to be kind to yourself. It's, you know, when you're being brutally honest and looking in the mirror and going, well, I've got myself into this situation wherever I'm at now, then you know you're going to come up against your own mistakes. You're going to realize, hang on, I've made a few bad choices along the way. I've done a few things wrong. That's all part of the learning experience. We have to make mistakes. We have to have setbacks. It doesn't all go our own way all the time. And that's how we learn. That's how we improve. So be kind to yourself. You did what you did, knowing what you knew at the time to the best of your ability. You didn't deliberately get up and think, I'm going to stuff up my life today, or I'm not going to have a great business. I'm going to ruin it. You know, you're doing the best that you can all the time. But there is with that a story. We all have a story. And your story is what's maybe kept you where you are. And by that, I mean, there are things that you have defined about who you are that you believe about yourself. So if you believe, and you'll commonly hear people, I hear this all the time as a coach, people start their sentences with, I'm no good at this, or I can't do that, or I've never been any good at this, you know, and, oh, it's just not my thing. Well, they've told themselves a story. Over time, this story has arisen. Maybe somebody at school or a parent or a friend or somebody said, oh, you're no good at this. You're just no good at maths. You'll never be any good with figures. And so if you lock that in and you believe that, then it's going to limit you going forwards. So one of the clearest things you can do to start off before you go on your journey is to figure out, what are these stories I've been telling myself? What are the self-limiting beliefs that I've allowed myself to accept and develop? Because we all have them, and they'll all pop up from time to time. And a lot of that is that part of your brain, your ego, that's trying to keep you safe, trying to stop you from going out and making a fool of yourself and doing something that I wouldn't get up on a stage and sing. I'm hopeless. I'm a terrible singer. You know, I'll scare the whole room away. Well, what if you actually didn't believe that? What if you could challenge that belief? What if you could get some voice coaching lessons if we're talking about singing? You know, what if you can learn the skills that other people have done? If they can do it, why can't you do it? Because you're telling yourself a story that you're no good at it. So what if you challenged all of these preconceived beliefs that you have, and then write it all down? You know, go, well, I've got this opinion that I'm no good at maths, so I'll never be able to amount a fortune because I just don't know anything about how to handle money or figures or anything. What if that wasn't true? What if that was just a story you've been telling yourself?
This is interesting. Because I don't know if you've heard of the New World, New You by Tony Robbins, the one he just did this January. His lecture on 3 days, or I think 4 days. I condensed it to just 30 minutes. And the summary is that change your 3 S's. So change your state, change your story, and change your strategy. Usually we do the reverse. We look for strategies, you know, we have our own story, and then we change our state. But now he's saying change your state first. So when you're already on that high energy level, then you change your story and then look for strategies, because it's when you have changed your paradigms, then you'd be able to find new strategies that would work for you this time, because everything has changed and we need to like adapt to these changes that's happening right now.
Yeah, you and I are both big fans of Tony Robbins. I used to listen to a lot of his recordings years ago. I had the Personal Power and then the Get the Edge program, and I'd go for my daily walks, you know, take the dog out for a walk, and I've always got earphones in. I'd be walking around a lake listening to Tony Robbins. So, you know, when you've listened to him for years, you start to absorb a lot of his philosophies, and that's so true. You know, we try to focus on the how do I do this? How do I get this money? How do I make this happen? We're all about the how to, but we haven't got clear on the why, and we haven't got clear on what it is that's holding us back in the first place. So we need to do the work on ourselves first. Absolutely. It is very much about being clear about what are the stories I've been telling myself. There's a presupposition we use in NLP that if I want more than what I have now, then there's something I'm doing that's held me back and stopped me from getting it, or I wouldn't be wanting it. I already have it. So what is it that you're missing? What's the thing that's missing from your strategy? Well, it starts with knowing who you are first and what your beliefs are and so on. So absolutely. So that's why, they talk a lot in business about doing a business SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats list. I also add to that as a coach, I always say to my clients, do a personal SWOT analysis. It's very important. Know what your strengths are, not just the business strengths. Look for what areas that you could improve on. We'll call them weaknesses that's what the acronym stands for. I prefer to look at them as things that I can improve yet, rather than labeling them as that's a weakness, because that's reinforcing that old story. Opportunities that you have personally, and also threats, well, that's things that could hold you back if you allow them to, or perhaps there are certain external things we can't control. But I come back to this, you take responsibility. If you want change, you grab the responsibility for it and go, well, what am I going to do about it? Don't wait for everybody else or some government department or somebody to figure out the answer for you. Think, okay, what do I want? What's stopping me getting there? And what resources do I need to get there as well? And so many people don't on their entrepreneurial adventure, it's staggering how many people don't write a business plan of any sort. It doesn't have to be War and Peace. It could be even sketched on the back of a napkin is better than nothing. But you start with bullet points. You start with thinking through, what do I want to achieve here? What's going to work? What's not? What's missing? Looking for all those different things. The more ways you look at it and discuss it with people around you as well, who may be able to contribute something. Put together a strategic plan. It's one of the first things that my accountant said to me years and years ago. Go and sit down and write a strategic plan. And most people don't. And then they wonder why the unforeseen problems occur that they might have seen coming had they really stopped and thought about the what ifs, So I'm not saying just dwell on the positives or the setbacks. I'm saying also look at what are the opportunities, where are the areas that maybe a competitor is missing. I can add value. I can do something extra to what other businesses are doing, and you can create a better customer experience. But again, it starts with you. You're the greatest asset in your business. That's why it's so important to do the work on yourself first. Nurturing your vision. There was a book by Wayne Dyer years ago, When I Believe It, I'll See It. It's that way around, not the other way around. The old saying, when I see it, I'll believe it. We actually have to see it in our mind's eye first. We have to work on our creative visualization, our imagination, and actually see us achieving the thing that we want to achieve. If your end goal is to be able one day to sell your business and go and sit on a beach with palm trees and drink the cocktails and just enjoy life and sit back, you have to kind of be able to see that happening in your own mind first. You have to be able to visualize those palm trees or the waves on the beach. And the more senses you can bring to bear, not just seeing it, but also hearing the waves splash on the beach, smelling the salty coastal air, tasting the cocktail. So the more you can paint that picture of what your vision of success is going to look like and actually experience it in your mind's eye, then you're far more likely to actually make it happen. And this goes back, I think I mentioned on one of the previous ones about the research done with prisoners of war that have been kept isolated, and the ones that survived, the ones that could see themselves coming out of the ordeal they were going through, was that they repeatedly imagined what they wanted to achieve after the war was over. It's been documented on many occasions that athletes, sports stars use this same concept to see themselves winning the gold medal, for example, and standing on the podium with the gold medal around their neck, or seeing themselves scoring the penalty goal, that they actually can imagine the crowd cheering, they can hear. So sports psychologists these days are using a lot of this on helping them to see in advance them winning the game or getting the trophy. Very powerful stuff, because it all starts in your mind. And your mind actually, when you repeatedly visualize something like that, your mind actually starts to believe that it's true, and it can't really distinguish between something that's repeatedly and vividly imagined and the reality you see in front of you today. In brains, we have this kind of different concept about time. You know, when you're dreaming, in your dreams, everything's possible. You know, you can climb a mountain, you can run a certain distance in a certain time. There's nothing really that stops you. In your mind's eye, you can achieve anything. In your dreams, you can achieve anything. Because when you can repeatedly imagine it and see it in your own mind, but you're daydreaming and you can see it, then you're going to make it happen. You're far more likely to make it happen anyway. So it's up to you then, like Tony Robbins said, to design your new story. You have that capacity. You can go and write a whole new story for yourself. We are the authors of our own lives. So that vision that you hold dear, no matter what's happened yesterday's gone. You can't change that. So what's the point of getting stuck in the past, feeling guilty or feeling disappointed or upset that you didn't do things or that you failed at something? That's all gone. You can't change that. But today's a new day. And each time, one thing we know, the sun sets and it comes up again. At least we hope it will. It has pretty regularly for a long time. So I think we can trust that the sun's going to come up tomorrow. And when the sun comes up, you have a clean slate. You can start all over again. So just because you didn't get something to work yesterday or the year before or whatever, you can have another go. You can start again. That's the beauty of us as humans, is we can pick ourselves back up anytime. We can shed ourselves of those limiting beliefs. If we work on it, we can create a whole new story for ourselves. And as we believe in it, and particularly if we can expand it into a mission or an ideal, rather than just, I want to build a business or I want to make lots of money, if you can expand that in something that's a real heart-centered contribution that you can make to other people as well, you can create that new story and you can start to build it. And the more you build it, the more you believe in it, the more you repeatedly visualize it, you have a greater chance of succeeding with it. Going back to your question, was about the companions and how do you go about seeking companions? Well, to find your tribe of companions, you're looking for the missing pieces. So you're looking for, firstly, we've done that SWOT analysis on ourselves. We know what our own strengths are. We know the areas that we're not as strong, that we have room for improvement. That's a critical thing to do, because then what you want to do in your team, you want to have people who can also fill in the gaps, who can, if you were, let's say you were no good at figures, or you're not an attention to detail person, then you need somebody on your team who is. So you look to who you can find that's going to fill in those missing pieces and support you, where areas where you complement each other and where you can collaborate on things. And whether you're building a business or you are doing a side hustle or you just want to improve your life, we build networks, we build mastermind groups around ourselves. We have our close people that we can confide in, and then we have our wider circle of people who can support us, give us the answers we need: accountants, lawyers, financial planners, insurance brokers, coaches, all these people that are part of our support network. We're looking to find them as our trusted companions on this journey. I think I mentioned in the title, calling it the Achilles Army. So
Yes, that Achilles Army. Yeah. So why do you need companions, and why do you call it the Achilles Army?
Well, Achilles was a legendary Greek soldier, warrior, who conquered a lot of territory. And famously, the one area he was made sort of superhuman by the gods, that he could win all these battles. And there was one area that was, in order to get these superpowers, Achilles' mother had to dip him in the river to give him these superpowers. But the only way she could dip him in the river and hold on to him so he didn't get swept away was to hold on to his heels. So that's where her hands went, and she's dipping the baby into the river. And by immersing him in the river, that gave him all these superpowers. But the one area where she was holding on to him was by the heels. So because the river didn't touch his heels, because her hands were keeping them dry, that was the one area of weakness. That was the area that wasn't touching the water. So later on, when he was defeated in battle, it was because somebody took a sword and cut him in the Achilles heel, which was the one point of weakness. So we all have some area where we're weak, where we're not as strong as we might have superpowers we're developing, but there's always something that we're not good at. We can't be good at everything all the time. That's why it's so important to do that SWOT analysis and to know what areas am I weak in. You know, if you're no good at timekeeping, then get a secretary or get some systems organized or something to keep you on track and keep you on time. If you're no good with figures, and you obviously you can work on these things, you can develop these skills, but in the meantime, have somebody on your team that's very good with figures who can give you that advice. If you're impulsive, you know, find someone on your team who can perhaps question you or slow you down a little bit and get you to consider things rather than just rush in. If conversely, if you're a person who takes ages to do anything and has to think everything through, find someone who's a bit more impulsive to give you a bit of a kick, you know. So it's looking for those areas that we can build a team around us that's going to support us and complement us. All through history, we've heard all the tales, the stories, the mythology of heroes on their journeys, and they all have setbacks, but they've all learned also along the way how to leverage themselves. They become leaders. They find people who will go on the journey with them, and they seek out people who can advise them and who can really help them to move forwards. If you think back to, you know, the Vikings, they had their seers. They would go and talk to the seer and say, am I going to win this battle? Am I doing the right thing? Should I go and invade this country? Or will it bring me riches? All these questions they would ask, and the seer could see it in their mind's eye. Throughout history, everyone's had these people. King Arthur had Merlin as his magician. He would go and ask questions of. So almost any powerful commander or leader that you can think of had their kind of go-to person or their go-to support team that they would ask questions of. So I'm sure people in the Philippines who want to amass a fortune would consider you being their advisor and their go-to person that they can ask questions in your area of expertise. So the more we can surround ourselves with people who have the skills and abilities, the more we can leverage what we can achieve. Richard Branson says his goal is to be the dumbest person in the room when he has business meetings. So he surrounds himself with people who are smarter than him.
Right.
And that's smart. You know, the old way, or the egocentric way of doing it would be, I've got to be the smartest person in the room. I should know more than everybody else. I'm the boss.
Right.
That's not true. If you can have people around you that are smarter than you, they can give you the best advice. They can come up with things that you might have missed.
Yeah.
Makes
Sure.
sense?
Yes, of course. But how do you know if you've found the right companions? How do you know if they're the right people? I mean, it doesn't only mean that they're smarter than us, but how do we know if they're going to be helpful to our business or to our mission?
Yes. Well, that's a great question. It's not just about being smarter. It's also what I call leverage. So not just leverage, but leverage. You want people who also, this is why we do this self-analysis to start with. What are your values? What is it you're trying to achieve? What's the mission? When you're recruiting people to go with you, whether it's staff or whether it's managers or whether it's advisors, you want people who share the same values as you, who have the same level of integrity as you. It helps if they've got a sense of humor too, I think. So finding people that are going to be a complement to you, who think not exactly the same way you do, because they've got to have different strengths and weaknesses to you and be able to expose different areas, but that they're on the same page, or that they can buy into your vision and your mission and they are aligned with it. Because so often when you see a job advertised, especially in a managerial capacity, they come up with this list of, they've got to have all these skills and these abilities, and they've got to have a degree in this and a diploma in that. And it's all about their skill set rather than who they are, what their character is, and are they going to be a good fit for the team. You could have someone who's highly qualified, but they could be a pain in the ass. You know?
Oh, very true. There's a lot of that I think in every organization. Yeah.
Yes. Well, that's an interesting point. We could talk a lot about succession strategies and human resource planning. We won't go into all that today. But the thing is, it's important to know what kind of person you're looking for. So often, small business people, especially, they think, oh, I need a person who's got these skill sets. They don't sit and write a profile. Again, it's stop, think, act. Think about who's going to be a good fit. What is it we believe in here? What's the culture of our organization? How do we do things? And why do we do them the way we do them? Because we have these certain sets of beliefs. Your customers are also going to identify with that too. They buy from you because they believe what you believe. Simon Sinek talks a lot about that in his book, Start With Why. It's about really being clear about what you stand for, what you're trying to achieve, and why you're trying to achieve it. So you want employees or managers or partners or companions who buy into that same philosophy that you have about what it is you're trying to achieve and the way we do things. There's nothing worse than you've got a really tight-knit team that's all heading in the right direction, and then you hire the bad apple, that one person who undermines everything you're doing. You know, they're rude to customers, they're rude to staff, rude to co-workers. They just don't get it.
Yeah.
And it's so easy to fall in that trap, you know, hiring the wrong person because you didn't think through in the first place, what's the kind of person we want working with us here?
Yeah, I think we have the same concept. You know, in my team, I give chances to everyone who applies or I recruit. It doesn't matter what your status in life is. It matters to me your character, your values, if we share the same values, because you can always learn the skills. You can always learn about the products. And there are a lot of trainings for that. But in my meetings, I usually do more on self-development. I discuss more on self-growth and development and the relationship. We have this gratitude journal in our team. I always encourage them to just share anything that they're grateful for the day. I mean, it's just one liner. I'm grateful for my life. I'm grateful for my work. That's what I value the most, our relationship, because I know not everyone who comes into this industry will remain. So I would want for us to still be friends even when you're no longer with the company, right? Because I want to really value relationships. And that's what I have successfully done as a manager. And yeah, I'm really proud of that.
Yeah, for sure. I totally agree with your sentiments there. That's how I've always run my businesses is you look for people. In fact, I'd even go so far as to say when you come across a really good person, you virtually create a job for them. I've done that on occasion because you want that person on your team and you think they're going to be an asset to this business going forwards. How can I fit them in just now? It might not be quite ready for them yet, but don't let those people blow past you because they'll be hired by somebody else and they'll go and improve somebody else's organization. So it's so critical. And yet again, it's a common pitfall that a lot of small business owners don't take the time to stop and actually analyze what's the profile of the person that I'm looking for? What would their beliefs be? What would they stand for? And what do we stand for? Is that in alignment? So very, very critical points there. And you certainly, it's easy in small business to be pressured when somebody's left or they're sick and you've got to find a replacement and you're under the pressure, you know, under the pump. You need to find somebody quickly. And so you just grab the first person that comes along just to fill the gap, because otherwise you're going to end up working 20-hour days yourself or something. And then it comes back and bites you because you've rushed in and got the person in that's not a good fit. And then you've got to get them out again somehow, which is not always easy to do with industrial relations laws these days. You want to make sure at least anyone new that you bring in, you also have a trial period and you pay attention to how they're behaving and what they're thinking and what they're saying, and not just about whether they can actually do the tasks or not, but are they a good fit for your culture? Very, very important.
Is there anyone else that we should look for to help us other than?
Yes, it's important to find people, as I said, who are going to add value to your team as well. They're going to fill in some of the missing pieces of what you're looking for. ideally always be on the lookout for mentors or coaches, people who can teach you those things that you feel you've identified that you need to learn to be able to move on to the next level. And if it's an area that you don't have in your team, there's nobody that's an expert in that at the moment, you've got to look for it externally. So who can you find who's going to be a trusted advisor, someone who's going to act as a mentor for you and that you can learn from and extract as much wisdom from them as you can. And never be afraid to ask people. It's a common myth, I suppose, again, urban myth, that, oh, well, they wouldn't be bothered wanting to teach me anything. Quite often when you reach out to somebody and you ask them and you say, could I buy you a coffee? I really want to learn about this. And I know that you're an expert in that field. I'd really appreciate it if you could spare me, 15 minutes, half an hour over a coffee. I'll buy the coffee. And if I could just pick your brains and ask you questions about this. Very often people are flattered by that, or they're willing to help. They're happy to help. And so often we don't ask because we don't want the fear of, there's that fear of rejection, I suppose. What if they say no? Well, so what if they say no? Go and find another person who knows about that.
Exactly. That's what I did with you. I asked. And here we are. Now you're now teaching this part of the world, and we're learning so much from you. And it's not just one show, it's actually a series. So it is like an entire course that you're sharing with all of us here. So we're grateful for that, by the way.
I appreciate it. Thank you. It's been useful for me too, because it's getting me to think through. Like I said, you when you start off and it's only when people ask you questions and then you just start talking that you realize that you've learned things along the way that you're now able to share with people. And so these people that are going to have the same, you're giving them an opportunity to shine their light on you, and then you can do the same with somebody else. So we're all in it to help each other. And if one thing I say resonates with somebody and it makes a difference in their life or their business, then that's awesome. That's what it's all about.
So I see here, they're like soldiers. So why shields and swords?
Well, if you've got the right team around you, I'm using this military theme that I came up with. It was when you go into battle, you want people who've got your back. The Vikings used to build their shield wall. The Romans had the most powerful, amazing army that conquered most of the known world at the time. But what was it about them that made them so successful? They had good systems. They had incredible systems, right down to, if you look at the uniforms that they wore, they documented everything. They had systems that were not just military. They had urban systems, construction systems. You look at what that old Monty Python joke. What did the Romans ever do for us? They built roads everywhere they went. They built baths. They built plumbing. They built all kinds of things. But that was because everything was systemized. And the more you can systemize things, the more you can make it duplicatable and make it easy to show somebody else how to do it. So that frees you up to do something else. So in business, it's so typical, especially in large companies, where a manager doesn't want you to know too much, because then you might get their job. If you know as much as me, then suddenly you're a threat. And the opposite is actually true. A good leader will empower their people to make the right decision, to have the ability to make decisions and to act on them, but within the guidelines of a system. So carefully constructed system that is always open to challenge, is always open to how can we do this better? Then you get everyone on that same page. So they'll conform to the system, but at the same time, they will come forward with ideas and suggestions. One of the best examples of that, there was a book by Jan Carlson, Moments of Truth. And so Jan Carlson took over a Swedish airline, and it was struggling. It was really badly performing. Their flights were always late. They were disorganized. People's bags got lost. People missed business meetings they were flying to. And so he started on a very clear strategy of figuring out, who do we want to be as the airline, what is our customer base? What market are we trying to serve? And then how can we deliver the best possible experience? But he got his whole team involved. He got everybody in the airline involved. He wrote a book about how we're going to win together. He held slideshows. He held talks. He got all the staff together in meetings. He went to every department. So he let everybody know that their contribution was part of the winning formula, that they were valued, that their input was just as important as everybody else's. So not just the pilots getting the plane there on time, but the cabin crew, the people checking in your bags, the baggage handlers, the people getting the catering organized. So everyone that was involved in the whole process of getting the customer from A to B, their opinion was sought. They were looking at, it's like a bit like that Undercover Boss type program. I love watching those, where the boss goes in, nobody knows they're the boss, they're in disguise, and they go around asking all the people, so what do you think we could do that would improve things, and they're going around asking all these questions. They're observing what's working, what could be working better, what are we missing, what is it that's missing in our system that if we introduced it could make a big difference. And Jan Carlson, in his book, fantastic book if you haven't read it, turned the whole airline around, where instead of making a loss, by everyone playing their part and empowering everybody to make decisions based on the fact that they were on the same page, that they all knew what they were trying to do to improve the airline, and they were all on a shared mission to achieve it. People started coming up with things, stewardesses, baggage handlers, pilots, everyone in the whole process was coming up with ideas on how we could do things better. And everyone was listened to. Not every idea was accepted, of course, because some things practically just can't work for whatever reasons. But take the time to explain that to someone. Don't just go, oh, no, that we've done that, it doesn't work. Well, the reason it didn't work, we tried this and we had this challenge with it. But at least people feel heard then, and they feel more willing to come up with the next suggestion or idea that occurs to them, rather than just shutting people down. So the more you can empower your team, and that's why shields and swords, because people are shielding you from failure, from setbacks. At the same time, they're going into battle for you. They're going to try and help you win at the game that you're playing, whatever the game is. And ideally, you all win together. So you move forwards. If the company makes more money, that means there's more available, hopefully, to give people better wages or better conditions. And if the company's struggling, and everyone's going to feel the pinch and cutbacks and all those sorts of things that come with that. So it's in business, it is an adventure, and it is about getting the right people on board to help you, all on the same page in terms of what you're trying to achieve. And then if you can systemize that, but have it so that people follow the rules, follow the system, but know what their levels of decision making are and what their levels of responsibility are, and that they can challenge and come up with ideas so that we can all move forwards. There you go. That's how you do it.
Oh, that's another great learning from you. And we will have the last episode next week, the end of the beginning. Would you like to say something about it so people will...
Yeah, what we've discussed up till now has given us a framework of getting started, of knowing what we're trying to achieve, getting everyone on the same page, really understanding who we're targeting in our marketing and how we're going to help people. Once you're on the journey, once you've started and you've got your business up and running and you're doing it, then that's just the beginning. That's just the end of the beginning. Now there's a new beginning, because the new beginning is from every day going forwards. We've got to keep on improving. We've got to keep managing what we're doing, looking for how we could do it better, being aware of the changing environment that we have, and our world is changing faster than ever. And we can't rest on our laurels. We have to keep on with this, what Tony Robbins calls the Kanai principle, the constant and never-ending improvement. The Japanese called it Kaizen. So looking for areas where you can keep on improving in little ways every day and keep being better. So that's why the journey is never ending, really. Just when you think you've nailed it and you've got everything covered, something else happens that changes that. So we have to be able to adapt, improvise, and overcome. That was in a Clint Eastwood movie, Heartbreak Ridge. Improvise, adapt, and overcome. So follow that principle. We'll be
Thank
talking about
you.
that.
Thank you once again, Coach Tony, for teaching us all this. And we'll see you again next week. We're excited to learn more from you.
Thanks, Joey. It's a pleasure. I look forward to seeing you next time.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome my mom, Miss Joy Tayaman.
So, are you ready?